Well, hello. This is Tom Kubistant again, and this is volume number 215, if you believe it, on how to perform at your best. In this 200 level series, as you recall, we've been looking at a lot of specific issues and applications and solutions to specific performance issues. Today, I want to talk to you about two mysterious features about human performance, and that is how to handle slumps and how to maximize a streak. They are the yin and yang of human performance. It would be nice if all human performances were linear. You practiced and start getting and receiving appropriate results and keep on practicing and building on experiences and practices. That doesn't occur. One of the fascinations about human performance is that it has little troughs, little dips, as well as little peaks, ebbs, if you will. And one of the goals for this video session is how to minimize or even prevent the low points. And if you have a low point, what to do about it to get back on track, as well as later on in this video, we'll talk about how to maximize your streaks when everything is going wonderfully well. Last video, we talked about yips, the fine motor skills that get under control. Sometimes that happens and extends to infect the rest of your performance areas, which leads to a slump. Even if you don't have the yips, slumps are probably natural and even necessary to improve performances. And you'll find out why. Most of you who are viewing this are seeing this as a continuation. Some of you who are viewing this are viewing me and this series for the first time. And that's typically what has happened, is that a lot of times people who have been of different performers who have gone through prolonged slumps, that they've tried everything, asked everybody to how to resurrect themselves from the slump out of frustration or desperation. They search the web and they come up with me. That's the same thing that happened for years in my practice as a sports psychologist and a mental coach, is that a lot of times people would contact me not knowing me and say, I'm frustrated, I'm at my wit's end, you're my last hope. How do I start overcoming this slump? We're going to talk about some things about slumps and the reasons why they occur. And then once you understand some of those general reasons, then what to do about them. Okay? There are a myriad of reasons why slumps occur. If you're looking for one single thing, you won't find it. So stop looking for one cause to the slump. A lot of times these are weeks or months in the making of things that you're doing or not doing to actually promote a slump. Excuse me. So part of this is understanding that slumps are a myriad of things. Even if you come up with all the reasons, there may be some things outside of your awareness that you will never become aware of. Don't worry about that stuff. Trying too hard to specifically analyze and isolate all specific factors, as noble as that sounds, doesn't work. And even if you are able to isolate all the specific factors that led to a slump, that in itself doesn't lead you to overcoming that slump. Awareness is nice, but also using the awareness you have to start addressing some of the slumps. Okay? Hopefully that makes some sense. Sometimes people think of a slump as a black hole or a dark hole in their performance areas of their lives that lead to the whole area of your lives. Now, if you're coming upon this one in a slump of dating people, sorry, that's not going to have, you're not going to find any answers here. If you're in a dating slump, best wishes to you. Go on to someplace else. Those of you who are performers, athletes, performing artists, business people, even students, sometimes even coaches or parents of performers, you may find some answers here in talking about slumps. As I mentioned, in the big picture, slumps are maybe natural ebbs as well as maybe necessary for us to regain what we need to be doing and who we need to be in terms of being a better performer in your areas, whether you're a graphic artist, whether you're a performing artist, where you're an individual athlete or a team athlete. Slumps occur. And part of that is accepting that. Also understand that no matter how traumatic the slump may feel, they will run their course. They will run their course, then they always do. The problem is sometimes we exacerbate the slump and trying to force our way out of the slump. That just extends the slump. Slumps always end. So take a sigh of relief, breathe, and let's talk about some of the major issues I found of people who lapse into the black hole of a slump. Firstly, and this sounds strange, for one of the great causes for slumps is taking things for granted and not attending to the details that put you in that position to keep on improving your performance. Sometimes we become too complacent about what we do and how we do it. Part of good, improved performing is understanding your style of performance, whether you're a thinker or a feeler. Remember that. And honoring your own style of performing. Now, that becomes an issue when you're in an ensemble or a group or a team, that everybody has their own style. And as much as you want to collaborate and coordinate with your teammates or your colleagues, you have to be aware and then honor your own style. Too often, once we start becoming more comfortable with our style, we start taking things for granted. So understand that if you're taking things for granted, you're losing control of them. No, you don't have to look at specific things every practice or rehearsal or every performance, but take a step back and say, what has made me successful? What do I do well? What are my strengths, and how do I perform or play to my strengths? Understand, accept, and even embrace those. That will help you minimize a slump, as well as maybe prevent a slump in some cases. But that knowledge of keeping an edge, of keep on going, is essential to handling a slump. Don't take things for granted. Attend to all the specific things. Here's one common thing I see. Sometimes in our earnest quest for improvement, for reaching the next level, for learning how to perform better, we take too many things in at one time without us understanding those and integrating those. Remember an earlier video in this series about system series, whenever you introduce something else, it has ripple effects throughout your performance area, mentally, emotionally, tactically, strategically, mechanically. So sometimes people start embracing too many things, and that also is exacerbated as well by receiving advice from too many people. As good intentions as they may be, that they're giving you things that may not fit where you need to be doing. Anything you take in has to be practiced and make the transition from short-term memory into long-term memory. It has to be integrated. And if you're taking in 6 new things a week out of desperation or greed, that you're not allowing yourself to integrate those things. So probably you've done that in the past, wanting to be a good, receptive performer or student in that performance area, and you're listening to too much advice. One of the best things mature performers do, who understand themselves, how they learn things so that they can retain things, so they can perform those things, is learning how to say no to any kind of advice. You ever heard of the phrase unsolicited advice? That is typically maybe well-intentioned from others, but not useful to you. Even if you don't reject them, say, no, I don't need that advice right now. Just pass that stuff off. That was maybe well-intentioned, but unsolicited advice is rarely helpful. Learn how to learn Learn how the sequence of your input needs to be practiced, rehearsed, and then integrated before you go on to something else. Remember, everything you introduce into yourself has ripple effects. Okay? Here's another one. Sometimes in our quest for keep on improving, we forget what made us successful in the first place. There's an old phrase called "you're throwing out the baby with the bathwater." That's an old-fashioned phrase. Sometimes when we keep on reinventing ourselves or inventing ourselves for the first time, we ignore those things that made us successful in the first place. One of those elements is not enjoying performing anymore, not enjoying doing everyday mundane practices or workouts or nutritions. Enjoy this every step of the way. Enjoy the process of it. Sometimes we become jaded by becoming a professional or a master in that area, and we become jaded by looking at the business side to things or having to respond to the media on those things. One of the ways to get back to yourself is enjoying the little things, surprising yourself with the little things. Along with that, an undercurrent to all of these is that you're not accepting what you're doing, what you're achieving, or how you're performing. We have two lofty standards. Remember, we talked about shoulds, coulds, wouldas, gottas, and oughtas. When you use these words, you're expecting something to unfold in a prescribed way. And when it doesn't, and it won't, then you put yourself down. Whenever you're in an expectation mentality, expecting something to unfold in a prescribed way, you're not accepting yourself. You can control what you're accepting, particularly after a disappointing performance. Accept that, hey, I did 80% of that well in that performance. The other 20% I didn't do too well. I accept that and let me go on to some other things. Okay. Particularly in post-COVID, the phrase burnout has become more relevant and more widespread. That I had worked with young, great virtuoso performers or young athletes who are burned out at the age of 16. From well-intentioned coaches or parents, this became burned out. They lost the joy and the passion and even the dreaming about them in that kind of activity. Is that one of the ways is to accept that we are burned out. We need to take away some time away to recharge ourselves, to refresh ourselves, to review ourselves and how we're doing it. So if you're burned out, you've done some things to yourself, or you've allowed other people to do things to you, so that you have no longer doing your performance in the right ways for the right reasons. Along with that, sometimes it happens that leads to a slump in your performances, is that the rest of your life is out of balance. Granted, you make sacrifices to excel in your performance area. After a while, though, having a foundation, a wide base in your life provides you the platform from which you can continue to excel. But that means having your life in order, the rest of your life in order, so that you can make a sacrifice or live your commitments toward improving or even excelling. But sometimes we become so tunnel visioned that we forget that we need to keep our lives in balance. Your social relationships, your family relationships, your health, your nutrition, you're doing other kinds of training to supplement your fitness area as well. Is that all of these things keep on providing a foundation. Another common reason, and this has been an undercurrent, what I've been saying so far, is that you are not in charge of you in all aspects of your life. You need to be in charge of yourself, accepting responsibility for yourself, being in charge. You're the captain of your own ship, your own life ship, and your own performance ship. You're the captain, you are in charge, so that whenever someone gives you some advice or suggestions, you have to decide whether or not you're going to accept that. Having this, what psychologists call a locus of control, that I'm in charge of myself, I make my own decisions, therefore I can do my own performances, is essential. When you give up responsibility of yourselves, I've had a lot of team athletes come and say, coach told me to come here. Those are people who don't have control over their lives. They've abdicated their responsibility. In order to keep on improving at higher and higher levels, you have to be the master of your own self and your own lifestyle. Some of these things that come up are common ways of promoting a slump or extending a slump. Be aware of yours. Again, they will become obvious ones. The ones that need to be resolved the quickest and soonest are ones that are obvious to you. If you're a thinker and need to analyze everything, understand that two things: you won't be able to identify everything that caused the slump. And secondly, even if you did, that information doesn't put you in a position to learn how to do something about it. So once you start understanding your trends, now you're in a better position to do something about your slump. So let's talk about that. Once you become aware of some of these things, you say, of course I was working against myself. Of course I was taking too much in. Of course I was becoming greedy on some things. Of course I wasn't attending to the little things. They become obvious to you. And that's nice. That information is nice in itself. And that will help you in the future keep an edge so that you don't disintegrate, if you will, to another slump. So keep that information. If you're a thinker, write that stuff down, things you did to yourself. If you're a feeler, just recount those feelings associated with it. Now, once you have a pretty good idea, here's some general strategies to how to start bringing yourself out of the slump. Remember, it might have taken you days or weeks or months to lapse into this slump. It won't resolve itself immediately as much as you would like to. The slump has this deadness in it, but also this negative energy in it that just keeps on eroding you. Have patience to get past these feelings. Is that some of these things will work right away. Some of these will work in a day or two or a week or two. So have the patience. Along with that, relax. Take things easy. You don't have to have yourself and your game always like a knife honed to a very fine edge. Relax. Do something away from it for a while. Too much times we add more and more stuff, and it becomes a way of actually adding to the slump, prolonging the slump. Relax. Take some time away. Go enjoy some people. Look at some of the parts of your life that are out of balance and start working on those. Nutritionally, in terms of flexibility, take a yoga course. Start improving relationships, social relationships with friends or people more intimate to you. Take some time away. And that time away may be just a couple days or a weekend. That may do wonders for you. Here's the second thing. Recognize that you are much more than your area of specialization or the last performance. So many of us have our whole identity wrapped up into what we did in our last performance. So that when we don't do something well, you extend or extrapolate that, saying, oh, I didn't perform well in that performance. That means I'm no longer a good performer in that. That must mean since I've sacrificed so much, I'm not a good human being. Oh, man, we're so tough on ourselves a lot of times. You are much more than your performances. You're much more than your passionate area of expertise. You are a fully functioning human being. Here's some things that have helped people in the long run. Go back to your roots. If you are away from where you learn that area, go back to your initial acting studio again. Go see an old teacher that you were inspired by early on. Go back to an old coach who maybe is retired now, and have a conversation with them. Physically go back, if you're able to, go back to the old playing field where you grew up playing on this, your own rehearsal or auditorium where you start doing some of your initial performances. Reminisce. That's important. Reflect on who you were at the time and the dreams you had at the time and the passions you had at the time and the energies or enthusiasm you had on the times. You can rekindle those things just by seeing some old things. Go back and play an old instrument that you grew up on. Yes, it's not as perfect as the instrument you're playing now, but enjoy that old instrument and reminisce about how you bonded with that old instrument, whether it's an old clarinet or an old tennis racket or an old hockey stick, or a whole old piece of your tack of your saddle. Go back to that old stuff and use that as tactile reminders of who you were and when you did it. Next, as you start practicing again, as frustrating as it may seem, because you're maybe still have some expectations, enjoy every step of the process again. Enjoy warming up again. Enjoy doing your stretching before the practice session. And then in the practice or rehearsal session, enjoy the looseness of it. You don't have to be so refined and perfect on it. Enjoy the process of practicing. Enjoy the process of saying, oh, that's how I do it, or that's what I need to connect with this other thing. Enjoy the process, the steps of the practices or the rehearsals again. All of these things will help you rekindle your passion for what you're doing, to reaffirm, reassure yourself that you're on the right path, that you love doing what you're doing for its own sake, getting back in touch with your dreams. So spend time away. That sounds like it's counterintuitive. We want to try harder to push yourself through the slump. That's the worst thing you can do, is that step away, reassure yourself that the slump will end, all slumps end. And sometimes magically they end. You just come upon something that clicks and says, oh, that's what I need to be doing, or that's how I used to do it. That's what I need to come back to. Some little awareness like that will help. That's why looking at the causes of slumps may rekindle not what you were doing wrong, but who you are and what you need to be doing. So take your time and doing that and enjoy the steps. I know this sounds even masochistic to you, but enjoy the struggle, enjoy the doubt, enjoy the uncertainty of being in this place. Enjoy it, almost embrace it, saying, this time I'll get a handle on it and I'll learn how to minimize or even prevent it next time, because our performances are cyclical in nature. We'll have additional slumps in the future. And each time you become aware of what contributed to your slump, who you need to do, what you need to do, what you need to rekindle, that will help you the next time you start lapsing into a slump. Slumps, as I said, are natural. It's part of the nonlinear way of performing and improving. And I believe they're even necessary. So as painful and as embarrassing your slumps may be, go back through this first part of this video and replay it. People tell me that once they start understanding things more, as they start looking at things that are how to do good things for their own sake, they rekindle themselves. And so replay this first portion of it. Okay. Keep this. This is why I'm putting these on YouTube, that you can come back to this whenever you want. This is volume 215 of the series. So come back to it and use this every time you get past the slump. And you'll know when you're starting to come out of the slump, when you start laughing again. When you start laughing at yourself, when you start laughing with teammates or colleagues, laughter is a way that it's a glimpse that you're coming out of the slump, that you're not taking things so seriously, that you're starting to trust the process again. Laugh at your mistakes, laugh at your foibles of it. Laughter is a great perspective giver. Then, as you're coming out of it, when things feel okay, maybe write some notes about what you'll learn from that slump. Keep them somewhere where you can access it the next time you're lapsing into a new slump. Hopefully, all of this stuff makes some sense to you. In a moment, we're going to go back to the other extreme of these two mythologies of human performance, what to do during a streak. Have you ever had a series of performances back to back that were just wonderful, even though each were unique in their own way? Each of them almost started connecting with each other. You had some positive momentum going on with all of your performance areas. They helped each other. They connected with each other, that you start saying, I'm on a streak. Things we always dreamed of, that you have your B plus game or even your A minus game on a regular basis. And how we keep on doing that, and how fun it is, how natural and even easy it is. It is a big relief that, boy, all my hard work paid off and I'm on a streak now. Here are some things to prolong that streak, knowing that streaks will end. That's the wave-like nature of human performance. There are ebbs, there are also flows. Oops, there are ebbs down there, and there are also flows up there. That enjoy the streaks. Understand that each performance within this streak is separate and unique unto itself, and you're adding the confidence that's gained from previous ones. So accept those things. One of the things to keep in mind, I'm going to tell you some don'ts and some do's, is don't analyze. At this point, don't say, especially if you're a thinker, don't say, what am I doing well? What contributed to this? That's going to end it as soon as you do. Is that if you're in the flow, if you're in the zone that goes over a period of days or weeks, stay in that zone. If people ask you things, don't respond to them. Don't analyze them, saying, I'm just doing what I'm doing, and leave it at that. This is the worst thing you can do, is step beside out of yourself and start analyzing it, particularly with thinkers who love doing that stuff. There'll be plenty of time after the streak to analyze those things. Enjoy those things. Enjoy the performance. Again, avoid the temptation of becoming greedy. Sometimes people after a couple good performances or the beginnings of a streak, they say to themselves, wow, how easy that is. Let me see if I can force it doing better or gaining better results. That is a boomerang that'll come back and just stop that streak. So accept where you're at. Have you ever surfed or watched surfers who are on surfboards or on boogie boards? And what they're doing is they're seeking to go into the critical section of the wave where they can do their maneuvers and let the power of the wave keep on going. I love that metaphor of handling streaks. As a surfer, all you're doing is making minimal adjustments now that you're in the critical section of the wave, as where you can actually perform well. That's a part of the flow of the streak, that you're in the right position at the right time. So learn how to make minimal adjustments. Every performance indeed has different adjustments to make. In the streak, don't compare your performance with a previous performance you did well. Remember, one of my basics theories is that every performance is separate and unique unto itself. So within a streak, you'll be making minimal adjustments, and you look forward to those adjustments. That your adjustments have been successful in the past couple performances. Let's see what kind of adjustments you can make there. Anticipate and look forward to those adjustments. Here's another thing to be aware of. Don't expect perfection. Even if things are going well, don't expect perfection. There is not a perfect performance. There is an optimal or maximal or even a rare peak performances. Don't expect that stuff to happen. You just cannot turn it back on. As you are surfing on this wave of excellent performance, that you're in a streak on that, again, enjoy this process, enjoy the steps with it. Here are a couple more things to do. Part of this enjoyment is keep yourself open to surprises. Say to yourself, let me see what happens today. I can't wait to see how I'm going to respond to these situations. I can't wait to be surprised by what is coming out of me naturally in a connected way. You know you're in the flow. You know you're in the zone, if you will, at those times. So enjoy that and be surprised with that. Keep on doing what you've been doing well on that. Part of that is enjoying being immersed in the moment, immersed in your concentration, immersed with the connections you're making with teammates or even opponents, is enjoying the actual steps of the performing, even though the outcome may be in doubt. Those people within a streak enjoy and are immersed in what they are doing. They feel so comfortable in their bubble or their cocoon of concentration. They feel so comfortable just attending to themselves. It almost becomes selfish. That is fine. That means you're doing the right things. Here's one issue that some people have asked me about, and it's a double-edged sword. During the streak, it's okay to be a little bit superstitious. If you have worn the same uniform and don't want to wash it, that's fine. If you have the right pre-performance routine that you need to go through all of those steps to feel comfortable, that's fine. If you need to carry a worry stone with you, there are the same amount of coins in your pocket. If you need to wear the same kind of headband, that is fine. During the streak of good performances, just keep on doing those. And sometimes these superstitions may sound silly, but keep on doing those. Be careful, though, not to allow the superstitions to achieve control over you, saying, I have to do this or I won't perform well. No, during the streak, just keep on doing what you've been doing. If you feel comfortable doing the same pre-performance or post-performance routine, how silly it may seem in the long run, keep on doing it. So superstitions can be good, can be helpful in promoting that. Okay, they'll run their course, and be aware for them not to cross the fine line where they start commanding you. Have fun with your superstitions. People will laugh at you saying, you got to do the same thing, or what, are you becoming obsessive compulsive that you need to do the same things? That's fine. Just keep on enjoying that, and superstitions included. Using our surfing metaphor again, your goal is to surf that wave of the great performances of the streak all the way into the beach. You don't have to kick out on it. That's your job, is how long that wave lasts, how long that surfing ride lasts. Surf it all the way into the beach. Like slumps, streaks will end at some point. And after the streak ends, that's the time to analyze. Write it down in great detail, especially if you're a feeler. Write down the feelings you had, these intuitions you had, these connections between your mind and body and spirit that you had. That's the time to analyze it after the streak, saying everything seemed natural, or I trusted myself, or I laughed at my mistakes. Write all of these things down. You've proven to yourself that you could have a series of A-level performances or maximal performances, or even open up to some peak performances. Good for you. You've proved to yourself that you can do these things. Now record and remember these things, that the next time you're close to things again, say, oh, that's who I was. That's what I felt during that last streak. You're your own performance laboratory. and use the results of great performances to help you set up or maybe facilitate the new good performances that may lead to another streak. Feel proud of yourself. Feel delighted with yourself. Feel humbled with yourself that you were able to perform at such a high level for such a relatively long period of time. That's what you dreamed about, isn't it? So enjoy those rare flows, those peaks of your performances, and learn from those. The yin and yang of the handling slumps and enjoying the streaks are some of the great variations in performances. And you can learn how to maximize the streaks, and you learn how to minimize the slumps. You become still in charge of yourself, learning from your experiences how to keep on doing what's best for you. Replay this however and whenever you need to. This is Tom Kubistant. We will see you for the next session when we start looking at how to become successful, how to win, and how to keep on achieving. See you next time.